You are welcome to the Business Lens on Rapid TV Abuja. And in the world of business, let's look at some of the hot business trends, starting from Nigeria's inflation eases sharply in October 2025, with headline inflation dropping to 16.05% from 18.02% in September, while food inflation printed at 13.12%, which is a sharp drop from 39.16% a year ago. Also, local airfares doubles drastically ahead of the Christmas travel rush as demand overwhelms the limited number of aircraft operating on domestic routes, with several airlines already fully booked to high traffic. Next story says Nigeria's top 7 banks significantly spends 839.9 billion naira on APCON levies and NDIC deposit insurance to ramp up their mandatory sector resolution payments in the first 9 months of 2025. Next story says the Central Bank of Nigeria says Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve have climbed to a 7-year high of $46.7 billion as of November 14, 2025, which is the strongest level since 2018, noting that the Naira BDC gap is now below 2%. We will look at the stories and the stock market trend today. I am Divine Alex. We're going to be having a guest join us shortly, but until he joins, I'm going to have to wait before I introduce him. Moving on, let's start with the first story, which is the Nigeria's inflation that eased sharply in October 2025, with headline inflation dropping to 16.05% from 18.02% in September, marking one of the strongest month-to-month improvements this year. Year-on-year inflation also moderated to 17.82%, also a major relief when compared to the 33.88% in October 2024. Despite all of this improvement, the NBS noted that month-on-month inflation actually increased from 0.72% to 0.93%, showing that price pressures are softening overall but remain active in the short term. And if I'm going to be honest about this, sometime in September, when we celebrated the drop that went from 20% to 18.02%, there was a whole lot of controversy around it. And some of us took to the streets to even try to figure out how this drop is, significantly getting, to get to the common man, the local person in the market, Nigerians who are often going to the market to buy food items. And to be very honest, there's a whole lot of information surrounding this, and a lot of people are going to keep telling you that there's every chance that they are not yet feeling it. But it is what it is. And this is also a big win because it is stepping down month after month. Urban and rural inflation both posted significant year-on-year declines, while food inflation printed at 13.12%, which is a sharp drop from 39.16% a year ago, which is partly due to a new base year methodology. Monthly food inflation moved from 1.57% to 0.37%, which is driven by higher prices of onions, oranges, shrimp, vegetables, and assorted meat products. Analysts say the moderation aligns with expectations, linking to its improved FX stability, better food supply dynamics, and easing energy pressures. And if I'm going to be honest, to share my own personal experience with the market and with people around me who could, attest to the food inflation and the prices for onions and tomatoes and some of this food items that I mentioned, then you would know that there's a whole lot of, back and forth there. But our guest is here, and his name is analyst Abiola Adekunle. You're welcome to the show. Abiola, can you hear me? Analyst Abiola, can you hear me? Okay, I do not know what is going on, but I think he's going to be able to connect with us very shortly so that we could have conversations around this inflation that is dropping from 18.02%. And last time it dropped from 20% to 18.02%, and now NBS is saying that it dropped again to 16.05%, which is a big win for us. And I was sharing a very, personal information about my market experiences, because after the first headline dropped, I decided to take to the market to see how this inflation drop is actually getting to the market, so that the normal people, the common people who are just going to the market would be able to, to see how they are being affected, if they are actually enjoying the whole drop via inflation. So the first time I went to the market, I think onions in particular, a small basket, as how they sell it as a den. I think the last time I bought was in June, and that basket cost around 7,000 naira, 7,500 to 8,000 naira. So after the first inflation, and then I realized that after the first inflation drop that went from 20% to 18.02%, I saw that that same basket size went from the 7,000 naira to around 3,500. And then after the last drop, I also went to the market, and there is, a little bit, a slight change. It did not drop, it went up a little bit. So I do not know if this inflation drop has actually reflected on the market as at now, but let's find out. Analyst Abiola, can you hear me? Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much for joining the show. Yes, I can.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so with headline inflation dropping from 18.02% to 16.05%, how much of this decline is real relief for households, and how much do you think this, simple effect is going to have the effect on the new base year adjustment?
Well, with what I'm saying, I think that the numbers and the figures, the inflation figures, are quite interesting, for want of a better word. I would like to compare it to what is actually available, okay, on the streets, because just this morning I was having a discussion with one of my friends in Lagos, and it was like, it's been a long time he has been in Lagos, and is now in Lagos, that the cost of transportation is crazy, that from Festac to Allen is paying 15,000 naira, from mainland to island is seeing 30-something, 40-something thousand, and he was really, really complaining bitterly, because when you have inflation figures drop this rapidly, okay, from almost 30% months ago, now we are nearing practically 10%, especially if the inflation being at 13%, then it's something that should be felt. It's not negligible in any way. It's something that we should actually feel. I know personally that rice has dropped. A bag of rice has dropped. I can confirm that.
Yes, it did.
For how long? Like, how much drop did we experience? Now, the bag of rice has dropped to like 60, 65, 70, all the way from 90-something,
100 and something
last year, exactly. So that is noticeable. It's something that you can actually hold on to and say, oh, yes, I know that rice has dropped, but can this be said in every other sector? The answer for me is no. So while we're having a lower inflation figure, I think we are still having a delayed effect, okay, in actually experiencing this day to day.
Okay, now let's look at month-on-month inflation that actually rose from 0.72% to 0.93%. Does this suggest that despite the big annual drop, price pressures remain stubborn beneath the whole inflation drop?
Well, inflation cannot be also discussed without you actually talking about income. Because income and disposable income actually are the things that will speak to the fact that inflation is working or not. Because inflation can be, cost or demand, it depends on what is going on. Now, the income of individuals are still not enough. I can still tell you off the top of my head that a lot of families are still spending almost 100% of their income or household income on food. So even though we are saying that, okay, prices to some extent are actually dropping,
coming down,
but as income increased, are people earning more? A lot of people are even still being underpaid. More people have moved into the category of being underpaid, meaning that if you were earning 100,000 in January and you lost your job, the likelihood of you getting another job for 100,000 is very slim. So you might actually have to now go and get a job of 80,000, 85,000, which one way or the other will affect your own personal inflation, even though the prices of goods and services remain the same. So when we're looking at inflation, we have to also look at income. is income doing well? Are people doing well? Are people doing better? Are people having better jobs? The answer is no, or the answer is maybe. So though the inflation figures are dropping, which is a good thing, but the effect is yet to be fully seen. But we are seeing it in some items already.
Okay, so food inflation crashed from 39.16% to 13.12% year on year. Should Nigerians expect sustained relief, or do you think the recent upticks in key food items like onions, vegetables, shrimp, meat, reverse this trend? If I'm going to be very honest, because I took to the market, I wanted to see what the market was like. The first time it dropped, I went to the market. The second time it dropped, I still went to the market trying to ascertain how much of this is felt by common Nigerians. And there's a slight difference, but it's not everywhere. This drop is only touching places like rice, like you mentioned, tomatoes, and onions, but major other food items are still really very high. And these things are things that most family people, like beverages, most family people are dependent on to survive. And all of this thing is why I decided that we talk about it. So what do you make of this? Do you think this is something that, as Nigerians are really looking forward to, that everything is actually going to be fine?
Well, first of all, the next time you are going to the market, please take me along. You seem to go there a lot. Uh, if you were to, we'll look at it in this way. We have processed food, we have perishable food, we have food that are not processed but not really perishable. Now, you cannot talk about food without talking about food security. And talking about food security in Nigeria, has food security increased? I don't think so. With what is going on, even of recent, we can be having a low lot of food in a certain area being produced, prices low, but to transport them to the urban center becomes a different story. So that means you can have a bag of onions in a state in the north, very, very cheap, but to bring that bag of onions to Abuja, to Lagos, to Port Harcourt, to major zones in Nigeria, it can actually double, okay, the price. Why? Because first of all, transport, the roads are bad. Two, security is an issue. Three, the value chain is actually a problem sometimes. When I mean value chain, I mean that even preservation is a problem. So you might have food glut somewhere in Nigeria and food scarcity in another place in Nigeria. So it's quite complex and also dynamic at the same time. So I agree with the fact that some prices are lowering, and you find that these prices that are lowering most of the time have to do with the very much available stores like tomato, what's it called?
Onions, yes, pepper.
Or something like rice, which is like a national, anthem for
Nigerians.
Okay, but when you talk about other staple food products, the prices are not really being felt yet, or let me say the reduction in price is not really being felt yet. So I'm optimistic, okay, that prices will still drop lower. But if we don't fix transport, we don't fix security, eventually we'll keep dancing around this same cycle.
Okay, do you think that there are areas that the government needs to come in to ensure food security and put us in a place where, like you mentioned, transporting these food items, food security, food storage, what are the areas you think the government should come in to make sure that these things, is going to be sustained, this whole drop? And especially the bag of rice access, like you said, is a national thing.
All areas require the government because practically these are basic infrastructures. I saw a post on Twitter this week, and there's a particular state that was celebrating the fixing of a particular highway, and somebody commented that, are we still celebrating constructions of roads in 2025? Because this should be regarded as basic infrastructure. So if the government can do the major roads, and when I say major roads, I'm not even talking about, I'm talking about major roads. We're talking about Lagos to Abuja to Kaduna. We're talking about Lagos to the east. We're talking about Ilorin to Sokoto and so on. We're talking about these major roads. If these major roads can be fixed, you will see that there will be a constant drop, okay, in the price of goods, because price of transport
Okay.
The
Abiola, I think we are losing you. I think I don't know if you can hear me. I think it's best that you adjust your position a little bit so that the network will stop interfering in the call. While we wait for him to come back so that we could keep having this conversation, let's move to the next story, which is centered on this time in the skies as holiday airfare prices soar amid aircraft shortages and surging. Wow. So this is about local airfares that have more than doubled ahead of the Christmas travel rush as demand overwhelms the limited number of aircrafts. Like I'm talking about operating on domestic routes, right? Several airlines are already fully booked to high traffic destinations such as Sabah, Owerri, Anambra, Port Harcourt, and many others, forcing many travelers to actually consider, alternative routes. And if I'm going to be honest, I actually checked it last night because I really wanted to follow up. So when I'm talking with facts from my findings, right? Ticket prices have hit really high. I think I saw between 350,000 naira to 500,000 naira. I think it was only just December 1 to December 5th that I saw prices that are around 116,000 something on one of the airlines I checked last night. So even the highly competitive Lagos to Abuja route is selling for between 150 to 350,000 naira in December. And then stakeholders caution that diaspora travelers may be the most affected as connecting flights into Nigerian cities become scarce and sharply priced. And that brings me to the question. Now, with the first jumping from about 150,000 naira to as high as 600,000 naira on some routes, what exactly do you think is driving this massive price surge? Demand, aircraft shortage, or both?
Well, the major thing for me, I don't think there's any reason, right, why the cost of airfares should be this high. Now, the first thing is Nigeria is one of the few places in the world where you see prices soar during festive periods instead of prices to go lower for higher patronage. Okay. Now, if you examine an aircraft, for example, they have different classes of seats. In my own experience, this year at least that I've flown around Nigeria, there is no class of seat in Nigeria for a 1 hour flight that is above 170,000. Okay, so usually you have all the way from 100,000, 130, 150, and all that.
Yes.
So what we should see is, first of all, no tickets. Oh, it has been bought. Meaning that people have actually bought all the classes of tickets. But what do you see from airlines? They jack the price up. So first of all, it is not demand that is causing the price to go up. It's the airlines that decided to increase the price themselves. Because if you have all your classes of tickets and people have bought them, all you see on the website is sold out, sold out, sold out. So what the airlines can now do is to form partnership, synergies, and bring in more flights to those routes. To say, oh, we have opened up another flight. Oh, we have opened up another flight. The same amount. Number two, because of the security issue in Nigeria, they know that a lot of Nigerians are already in a certain corner and they have no option than to go by air. And that is why you see that an average Nigerian wants to take advantage of the next person if they see that they can. If they can, they will take advantage of you. And that is what is going on, as far as I can see. So a lot of people don't want to go by road. There's no train practically. Of course, there are trains to maybe Abuja to Kaduna, Lagos to Abeokuta, Ibadan, and some other ones, maybe from Kogi to, But when we're talking about major routes, there are no trains. So train option is out of it. Road option is out of it, leaving the flight. So for me, I think it's greed. I think it's people are being taken advantage of. I think what we should do more is to actually make sure that we have more seats available for people to drive, for people to fly, and to now do a lot of flights into the night. For example, a lot of our airports are not 24 hours, meaning that they call them sunset airports. Once the sun is down, you cannot land. We have 24 hours like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, but I think that is it. So the direction should be, okay, I'm in Enugu, I'm in Abakaliki, I'm in Uyo. Now let's see what we can do in this festive season to make sure that planes can land even 2 a.m. That means that you can keep running 24 hours to do more business, but we are not thinking in this direction. Instead, it is easier for the airlines to just say, let us increase. So the increase for me is artificial.
Okay, so how do you think the government can come in to actually assist the common Nigerian? Because what I saw last night, the prices were really high for 70, trying to, secure a ticket for my younger ones. And then the price is really high, really, really high. I think this changes occurred between 24 hours because 2 days ago I checked, it was around 1216. And then going back and I'm seeing 470, 350. Which is crazy, and this only changed in I think 24 hours. So how do you think the government can actually come in to assist us in this?
There was a time that the Abuja airport the runway was under construction, and flights from Lagos had to be diverted to Abuja. Then train will bring them back to, have to be diverted to Abuja to Kaduna. Then train will bring them from Kaduna down to Abuja. Then nobody will go home. Now, that was a way of the government solving that particular issue, even though I felt at that time that Abuja Airport should not have one runway. We should have multiple runways. Now, yes. In this particular situation, what I feel they can do is that there can be major movements if just to assist. That means that state governments can say, okay, XYZ states can say, for our indigenes in Abuja, every day from December 1st to December 31st, we will be having armed escorts, okay, moving from so-so state to the state, moving from so-so state to XYZ, moving from Lagos to XYZ state, moving from Abuja to XYZ state, because this is like maybe a temporary fix, even though it's not a fix I like, but I think it's something that might work. So you have organized armed escorts, then there's a convoy and everybody moves at once, and you do this daily to be able to make people have this feeling of peace, that, okay, nothing will go on, let's follow the official state convoy. And I think this might work. Because if you're looking at the air, I don't know, I don't know if there's any more space there. Are you going to now say you want to offer subsidies? How do you distribute the subsidies? It might not work.
Okay, so yet in the middle of these pressures, the financial sector is facing its own pressure as new data shows banks are taking on far higher regulatory costs than ever before. Now, this takes us to the next story where Nigeria's top 7 banks significantly ramped up their mandatory sector resolution payments in the first 9 months of 2025, spending 839.9 billion naira on AMCON levies, NDIC deposit insurance. This marks a steep 38.4% rise from the 607.09 billion naira recorded in the same period of 2024. So a pressure point that reflects higher compliance costs amid rising operating expenses across the financial sector. Now, a breakdown shows AMCON levies alone climbed 41.8%, hitting 605.06 billion naira, while NDIC premiums rose 30.3% to 235.9 billion naira. Under the AMCON Act, banks contribute 0.5% of total and off-balance sheet assets, a requirement designed as a buffer to protect public funds in case of bank distress. But with asset seizures expanding and macro pressures rising, these statutory costs are now eating deeper into bank profitability and capital planning. So what do you make of this, Abiola? Especially with banks spending nearly 840 billion naira on AMCON and NDIC obligations in just 9 months, which is up 38% from last year. How sustainable also do you think that this rising resolutions cost for the sector's profitability and lending capacity?
Well, at the end of the day, this is a private sector thing, which means that it is extremely profit-driven. So I think this number is very high, and it gets to it might not really make that much sense anymore. It gets to a stage you might start looking at examining afresh what exactly is the role. We all know the role of AMCON, NDIC, and so on. But they might have to start digging deep into it. Okay, let me digress a little. Of recent, there's different news reports of people going for NYC, this and that. Not things I want to say here, and people have to now start going back, start examining that, okay, why do we need this? Why do we need this particular agency and all that? So once the cost becomes too high to bear, man now start looking at, okay, what exactly are these guys? What exactly do they do? How do they have to our bottom line? Are they actually, additions? Because the addition don't want to look like a subtraction now, so I think that this is high. They have to look into it and something, because next year is going to even be a higher year for the banks. Believe it or not, next year the banks are going to have much more business to do, and that means that these numbers might also go up. And will they be able to take it? Because now, if you say 30%, for example, of 800 billion, okay, and now the 800 billion now becomes 1 trillion, then the 30% now goes to 40%. You can see it's a double increase. So this has to be looked into. That's
Okay, so but beyond the banking halls, there's a major bright spot for the economy, which is Nigeria's foreign reserves have climbed to their strongest level in 7 years, signaling renewed investor confidence. This is taking us to the next story, where Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves have climbed to a 7-year high of $46.7 billion as of November 14, 2025, which is the strongest level since 2018, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. The CBN says this boost is being powered by renewed investor participation, improved oil receipts, and a stronger balance of payments position, giving the country 10.3 months of import cover in goods and services. The CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso noted that the FEMA reserves have helped stabilize the naira, narrowing the gap between the official and the BDC markets to below 2%. He also added that the same reforms attracting foreign inflows have also delivered 7 straight months of disinflation, with headline inflation easing sharply to 16.05% in October 2025, which is the lowest in I think in 3 years. Yes. So Abiola, with FX reserves that is now at $46.7 billion, which is the highest since, that we've seen since 2018. What specific reforms or inflows do you think deliver this turnaround, and how sustainable are they going to be the next 6 to 12 months? I think 12 months. Yes, we should do 6 to 12 months.
Well, the first thing is, if your country is attractive, a different aspect, money will always flow to value. But let me explain, before people hit me raw. Now, money flowing to value in this sense is in terms of interest rates. Now, people see that, oh, if I push funds into Nigeria, there are different instruments in which I can get 25, 30% interest or even more per year. And this, for me, is one of the reasons why we have had this influx of funds. But before we conclude on this matter, let's look at it, holistically, because looking at it in isolation, it's a fantastic news. CBN actually is doing well, especially for the collapsing of the exchange rate into one. But also you have to look at our lending, our borrowing rather. We're borrowing much more, but we also have much more. So if you're looking at someone that has a bank account of 1 million naira and has no debt, and somebody that has a bank account balance of 5 million naira with 4.5 million naira debt, which would you say is doing better? On surface level, you will say, this guy, na big boy, you get 5 million naira, right? But by the time you look at the net, you'll find out that the 5 million is not the complete story. So in as much as I celebrate CBN, I celebrate Nigeria, that this is the highest so far, fantastic, we clap for them, but we also have to look at the net. Is Nigeria borrowing more? Even internal borrowing, have we printed more? Have we done more? Have we collected more? So that at the end of the day, when we do plus and minus, are we actually doing better than we were years ago?
Okay, so the CBN said that the Naira BDC gap is now below 2%. So what does this, tell us about confidence in Nigeria's FX confidence, FX markets? What risks could this reverse? Do you think these gains are we are going to wake up one morning and start looking for them? Or we are going
no, it's actually a good one, because now there's a high level of confidence, okay, for people to bring in their funds. And why is that? You could remember some years ago where we had airlines funds being trapped in Nigeria. Why were they trapped in Nigeria? These airline funds, okay, came into Nigeria in dollars, and trying to bring them out, they saw that the naira was too expensive to buy. And the government was the one subsidizing dollars at that time. Let's assume dollar was at 400. They wanted their dollars back at that exchange rate of 400. They can't go to the black market because naira is too expensive then. So the burden essentially was on the government and the pressure was much. But right now, anybody can bring in their funds, do whatever business they want to do. When it's time to pull out, you can exchange from wherever. Like you said, the gap is just about 2% or less. Whether you go to the bank, you go to CBN, you go to the black market, you can always bring out your funds. So it's a high level of confidence it puts into investors, knowing that if they put $2-3 billion in Nigeria, when it's time to pull out, they can also pull out the same without much hassle.
Okay, thank you so much for that one. But let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue on the conversation. Stay with us.
Nigeria's economy, the global market, what does it all mean for you? From stock market insights to global financial news you need to know, from Wall Street to the main street and of course the marketplace.
Get the answers you need every week on Businessless with me, Faith Daffer Joseph, as I bring into focus the stories, strategies, and shifts shaping our economy. No angle is missed as I talk about the business, the people, patterns, and possibilities behind them. Welcome to the Business Lens.
Rapid TV, rooted in truth, driven by impact. This is Rapid Broadcasting Network, RBN. We connect people, power stories, and amplify voices. On Rapid TV, we're rooted in culture and your window to the stories that matter. From news to lifestyle, we inform, entertain, and uplift. Join Rapid TV on Star Times Channel 176, Nightcomsat. On Rapid FM, we speak your language from the soulful airwaves of Umuahia to the vibrant culture of Port Harcourt and beyond. More than broadcasters, we're creators, amplifying that voice within with powerful content across TV, radio, and digital. Join us at rbnradiotv.com and all our social media handles. One network, one voice. Rapid Broadcasting Network, RBN, the sound of your city, rooted in truth, driven by impact.
Are you missing out on interviews, music, entertainment, thought-provoking discussions, and more? Don't sweat it, man. We've got you covered. No matter where you are, be part of the action 24/7, online and live.
Caesar Radio.
On Facebook, it's Rapid FM Umuahia. On Instagram, it's official Rapid FM. And on X, it is Rapid FM 965. Tune in to Rapid 96.5 FM or listen to us live on our website at www.rapidfm965.com or radiogarden.com. Better yet, get our mobile app from the Google Play Store. Catch the pulse of the Southeast on Rapid 96.5 FM, the sound of your city.
Hey, Oyanam, all Caesar Radio.
Nigeria's economy, the global
You are welcome back to Business Lens on Rapid TV. My name is Divine Alex. Diving straight into the next story, where Nigeria's digital payment ecosystem just earned a major global endorsement at the NIBSS Instant Payment System. NIP became the first instant payment system in Africa. This is the first to reach the mature level on African lenders inclusivity spectrum, the highest rating possible. The 2025 SIIPS assessment credited NIP for its broad user reach, strong governance structure, and open loop participation that allows banks, fintechs, and non-bank players to operate on equal footing. Now, this brings me to you, Abiola. NIP is now rated mature, the highest level on African lenders inclusivity spectrum, the first in Africa to achieve this. What does this mean for Nigeria? Mm. 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 Okay. The new Daira design. Mm. Mm. Okay, so let's move to the markets. Now, the Nigeria stock market saw one of its most active years yet, with investor participation on the Nigerian exchange hitting 9.57 trillion naira in the first 10 months of 2025, which is more than double, right? The 4.47 trillion recorded in the same period of 2024. The surge was powered by strong interest from PFAs, institutional investors, high net worth buyers, and a noticeable rise in retail activities. Foreign portfolio investors also made a major comeback, trading 2.03 trillion naira, a sharp 172.4% jump from last year, even as domestic players dominated with 7.54 trillion naira in transaction. What do you think of this? Because foreign inflows is more than tripled to 1.12 trillion naira compared to the 344 billion that we had last year, signaling renewed global appetite for Nigerian equities despite broader macroeconomic pressures. Outflows also rose from I think it rose to 9.54 billion naira. What do you think of this?
Of recent, we also had the issue of the stock markets losing, trillions just in a day. What I would say is this. Fine, we have had a whole lot of increase, okay, of recent, more than double, which is a good news. But we also need to know where these funds are coming from, and I will explain why. You already told me that locally we have a certain amount. Also foreign, we have the amount that came in as inflows or doubled. Now money will go to wherever it feels it can make money. Number one, the exchange rate had collapsed, so people know that okay, I can push money into Nigeria, I can pull my money out. Number two, they saw that there's an opportunity to actually make a lot of money, okay, from the stock market in Nigeria, and they push their funds there. Now, two things. You have to understand that when there is foreign investment, portfolio investment into any country, these guys that push money there, they are not like Nigerian investors. There's a higher level of what would I call this patriotism from Nigerian investors, whether you want to admit it or not. But for a foreign investor, they are watching the news closely. if they feel at any point in time that their investment is being threatened, they can pull out their investment immediately. And that is why you might have a much more volatile stock exchange market if you have a higher percentage of your funds actually being FPIs, meaning foreign portfolio investments. So even though it has doubled, it's fantastic. I'm happy to hear about this. I think next year will even be better. But we also have to understand that the volatility might also continue, except Nigeria has a very, very stable economy and economic news coming out of it.
Okay. The Nigerian Exchange Limited NGX All Share Index slipped to 0.23% to 144,646.01 points as broad-based sell-off wiped roughly 216.6 billion naira from market capitalization, which drops to around 92 trillion naira. Now, despite the decline in index value, trading activity picked up. Volume hit 892.54 million shares, which went up, 34.1%, and value rose to 23.54 billion naira, which also went up to 40.8%, suggesting fewer deals but higher ticket sizes. Year-to-date transaction value on NGX also surged to 9.57 trillion naira for the first 10 months of 2025, more than double last year's 4.47 trillion naira, with foreign portfolio investors trading 2.03 trillion naira, which also is up 172%, and domestic investors contributing 7.54 trillion naira, which is also up 102%. So what does this market situation say about our economy, and Abiola?
Well, the simple thing I'm just going to say is that when you have lower tickets but higher, sizes of the tickets, what it means is that the big boys are coming in. That is what it means, that the big boys are coming in. And from my own experience, about the financial services and sector and money market, there is a time that you kind of lay the foundation. The big guys come in. By the time the market now starts, because it has not started moving, forget the fact that, this is climbing. These guys are just coming in now. By the time we now start seeing the real movements, that's when retail traders like us, like everybody else, this is moving, Okomo is moving, whatever is moving, and everybody's plugging in. So I think what's going on is that we're having more of institutional movements, institutional transactions, than retail transactions. And to see the real result at the end of the day, we'll wait till next year to see it, because December is here.
Okay, he said let's wait till next year to see it, because, guys, December is here. Thank you so much, analyst Abiola Adekunle, for joining the show today. And that is it on the Business Lens, where we track the markets, the money, and the moves shaping Nigeria's economy. I am Divine Alex. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to stay with Rapid TV. Bye for now.